So I turned left at the sign in the last video and came down this jeep trail toward the Organ Mountains. I'm going to point out a few things. If you follow that straight, it will drop down into a canyon, which on some maps is labeled Rocotillo Rapids. And if you pan along this way, you'll see Picacho Peak, and right up there you'll notice a trail going up the opposite side of the canyon. It's good to take note of that. In general, when you're at higher elevations, you want to look around and see where the trails are going, because sometimes when you drop down into the depths of the canyon you have trouble finding the trail, so it really helps to get oriented that way. And one feature I'll point out here is this mesa with a cap rock on it. That is the Branson Overlook. Coming down the Jeep Road, you'll find that there are a couple of signs. This one, 2 black diamonds with the number 10, so that's a very challenging road for an off-road vehicle to take. Obviously fairly easy if you're using your hiking boots. We're now down in the Rocotillo Rapids area. I'll again point out that trail there, which will come in handy later. For now though, I'm going to be traveling roughly west toward the junction between Rocotillo Rapids and Branson Canyon. So we're coming up on the junction between the Rocotillo Rapids and Branson Canyon. Going is a little tough here. We're going to be going off to the left. So toward that way is Rocotillo Rapids, and that way is Branson Canyon. Now the camera is facing roughly east toward the Doniana Mountains. That's the way we came. I'm going to pan around here to give a sense of what this area looks like. Okay, straight down there is Rocotillo Rapids. And that way is Branson Canyon. And you can actually see the Branson Overlook right up there. At this point I've gone 1.03 miles from the second parking lot, and I'm in Branson Canyon. I'm looking at a rock ledge. It's certainly possible to scale that by hand. However, there are times when I feel like I don't want to do that, especially if I'm hiking solo. One of the last hikes I led in a group format prior to the pandemic was down this canyon, and there were people who were rather dismayed by the prospect of climbing up that thing. Everybody made it. But since then I've been trying to find a way that's beginner friendly to get around this in order to be able to keep going down Branson Canyon, because it's a very scenic hike and certainly well worth doing. For that reason, I am going to turn around now, head back roughly east toward the Doniana and Oregon Mountains, and go back to that trail that I highlighted before. Okay, so there is the path that gets you out of the canyon. Right up here is a fairly nondescript trail sign. I've gone a quarter of a mile back from the big rock ledge that I'm showing people how to bypass. Now the thing about this trail up here is that there isn't really a clear, well-defined path that goes up to it. So you do have to kind of bushwhack through. As you go up that trail, you get to a false summit where it levels off. By false summit I mean you think from below that that's your destination, then you get up there and you realize, oh nope, more uphill climbing to do. Notice there's a signpost. I can see it clearly on the ground. I don't know how well it'll come out through the video. There's the signpost that I pointed out when I was down there. Branson Overlook is up there. The trail again is rather indistinct here, but basically there's a jeep trail that goes along that way, so you don't really need to know exactly where the trail is. Just go that way, which is south toward Picacho, and you get to this jeep trail. There are a couple of cairns here which are helpful when you're coming back, because when you're coming back you want to have a convenient way to find out where to go to drop back down into the canyon. As you proceed down this way, the jeep trail becomes rather indistinct, but basically you just kind of keep going up toward that ridge. I'm going up this way, which is roughly south, and at this point I'm headed kind of toward Picacho Mountain, but you can't see it anymore. And coming over here, down there is the rocky ledge, and there's a little cave up there, which is where I'm going today. Proceeding roughly south. Again, with Branson overlook over there, we encounter a cairn here. And that's the trail we're going to be taking that will eventually get us to that cave. I've stepped off the trail a little bit because of these blossoms here. That's Coryphantha macromeris. Gorgeous magenta blossoms. It's a really nice specimen there, just kind of perched on the side of a rock. Of note, we're now overlooking the shallow cave that we're headed toward. However, I will not go in that direction, dropping down, because the slope is rocky and steep and not very inviting. So I'm now going to drop down into the canyon along this trail. A little bit overgrown. Sometimes I bring trimmers with me. Did not do that today. I'm traveling light. Here we are. There's a cairn there. You want to make note of that because you want to find this trail when you're coming back. Now I'm walking back, finding the rim trail that I took to get down here. There's a cairn there. And if you go up here, you realize it's really hard to find your way. This is why you really want to take careful note. of which way you came. But I do recall squeezing between these bushes here. Alright. A little bit of a trail. You might wonder why I don't go down that or come back up that. That's a pretty fragile and I think very attractive geologic feature. I wouldn't want to risk breaking it up and causing erosive damage, which is why I'd rather fight through the vegetation. This is public property after all, and if you deface it, you are violating the property rights of the general public, which, in my view, is morally unacceptable.